This is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. Delighted to have Dr. Ted Venema, audiologist, back in studio with us from NextGen and Mainland Hearing. It's always fun to talk about hearing on the radio on Boomer Life. Ted, nice to see you again.
It's great to be back here. Becoming a regular.
Well, you are becoming a regular. You know, we've been doing Boomer Life for over a year now here on AM 650, and you're the first person, you and your friend Mark are the first two people to talk about hearing with us on this series of programs. We were seriously overdue, and it's just a joy to have you come back with us because this is, especially for a program called Boomer Life, you're talking to people who, like it or not, according to their birth certificates, are kind of in line for some, shall we say, degenerative things going on around them. We're not all happy about this, but I found, Ted, the more that we understand what's going on, the easier it is to sort of go with the flow.
Yeah, for sure.
You're an audiologist.
Well, on good days.
But you back in your university days, you took a general arts degree, and then you went out into the workforce and came back to do an audiology degree after a few years. So what was it that drew you to this fascinating subject area of hearing?
I had been working in group homes and in detention centers.
Oh, my.
Even in Coquitlam here at one time, and walking with my girlfriend up Hastings Street in Vancouver saying, what am I going to do for a real job? I mean, I need a career or something. She was a librarian, and she said, you should go into, let me look at it. Came back the next day, you should become a speech therapist.
Okay.
A speech therapist. Yeah, you're kind of a yacker, you like imitating people. And I thought, cool. So I applied to Western Washington in Bellingham, and I went into a speech pathology program.
Okay.
And like many audiologists of my day, we never heard of audiology. You heard of speech. But after a while, you're halfway through the speech pathology program, you kind of, I don't know if I really like this. You know, see, we switched to the hearing side because all audiologists have to take speech, and all speech therapists or speech language pathologists have to take some audiology. So the two are kind of fused, and then you get your master's in one or the other.
Okay.
So I was halfway through grad school in speech therapy, and I hated it. I switched to audiology.
But you just found that the course content from the other side of the program was infinitely more interesting.
It was kind of like optometry, but for the ear.
Right.
For me, it was more focused, and I was dealing on one particular organ, the ear. So I really liked it,
And in later years, you created a program at Conestoga College in Kitchener, Ontario. You did a little groundbreaking back there.
Yep. I've never started my own business, but I have started a college program. Yeah, it's a 2-year program, still in existence, and they train hearing instrument practitioners. Now, that is like an optician compared to an optometrist. An audiologist is a master's degree trained, university trained hearing specialist, someone who tests hearing and recommends and fits hearing aids and so on. Hearing instrument practitioners do the same thing, albeit with a college diploma.
I see.
So their training is a bit shorter, but the need is out there. As you know, you said us baby boomers, people born between 1946 and 64, we are legion. There are many of us.
Well, we are the largest single population group of the 20th century.
Yeah.
There are a lot of us. And so there's this rather large group sort of discovering life together, and we've been doing it now for a long time.
We have so,
So now, once you got the master's degree and became an audiologist, Dr. Ted, you became a PhD. So what was it that inspired you to go even that further degree into the study of the science?
I worked at the Canadian Hearing Society in Toronto as a clinical audiologist for 3 years, and while doing that, once in a while, people would ask me to do presentations. One of them was CNIB, Canadian National Institute for the Blind.
Right.
Several hospitals and stuff. And I said to myself, I like teaching. I like talking. I like explaining, even more than I like doing it.
Okay.
So I thought, I think I'll become a prof in audiology. Why not? My profs are sometimes, I thought if they can do it, so can I.
Okay.
So I went down to the University of Oklahoma, y'all. and done got my PhD in Oklahoma.
Oh, I
at
see.
the University of, and then moved back up to Canada and worked at a hearing aid company called Unitron Hearing, which is Canada's only homegrown hearing aid manufacturer in Kitchener. Kitchener is kind of like the Mecca or the Jerusalem of hearing aid companies in
Interesting.
Canada.
Oh, okay. And so then, after having studied the science, you actually went to work for a company that makes the product. So you get to understand the power of the product from the inside looking out.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience because you learn all about the guts of hearing aids, how they work. You learn about the competitor hearing aids, all about the competition.
Sure.
And the best part was they flew me around the world to do talks.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you know, for everywhere from South Africa to Norway to, you know, New Zealand and neat places like that. I really enjoyed. I worked there for 6 years. It was a great.
Well, it's no wonder you're such an animated guy to talk with on the radio. You've been around the planet a few times doing precisely this, and all about your favorite subject, which is hearing.
Yep, it's good. You know, it's. I just landed in it, and I just like yakking about things, and I just happen to be in this field. So this is where my home is.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the hearing test, because first, a couple of things about the hearing test that I think our Boomer listeners need to understand. First of all, and here's the most important fact, friends, hearing tests are free.
Yes, they are.
And they are encouraged. The audiology community encourages each and every one of us to get a hearing test every year.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's like getting a vision test. I mean, if you're having trouble hearing in groups, you're having trouble hearing what people are saying lately, it's kind of crept up on you. People tend to put it off for 7 years after they kind of first become aware.
Right, right.
But you know what? You got nothing to lose by trying. Go on in for a free hearing test. Next-gen Mainland Hearing does that routinely.
Right.
Nobody's business. We just do that. And you always get a 21-day better hearing challenge, which means you can try, if need be, and you need hearing aids, you can try them for 3 weeks without putting a nickel down.
Oh, I see.
So people have nothing to lose by trying.
Right. What's the deal, though? Here's the part that I don't understand. I can remember as a little boy getting my first eye test. The doctor says, put your right hand over your right eye. Now read the letters on that chart. And I'm old enough that I get the letters so I can say them out loud. So I'm maybe 6 or 8. Yeah. And that's my first eye test that I can actually consciously recall.
Right.
I cannot recall ever having my hearing tested.
I can. I think we had it done in schools once in a while. In the hallway, a nurse would come through. It'd be part of a routine thing, but hallways are noisy places.
Right.
You get a lot of false failures, you know. But a hearing test is normally, they put you in a fairly small sound-treated room. It's not soundproof, but it's sound-treated, just like a watch can be water-resistant, not waterproof.
Okay.
And the idea is just so that normal hearing people can hear all the way down to 0 decibels, which is the softest humans can hear.
Okay.
And they test you separately, right ear and left ear. And they give you tones, and you're to push a button or raise a hand every time you hear a tone. And they'll test the right ear first maybe, and then the left ear. But at any rate, the idea is they lower and lower and lower the intensity or the loudness of the tones until you can't hear it anymore.
Okay.
And that way they find your hearing level in decibels. How many decibels did it take you to hear middle C? How many decibels did it take for you to hear high C on a piano?
All right.
And they'll keep going higher up in octaves. There's about 7 different octaves that they test you at.
Okay.
That you're tested with, and that's done separately for the right ear and for the left ear.
Okay, now I have to interject here.
Go for it.
That I took the challenge.
You did so.
That Dr. Ted, he hurled the gauntlet in my general direction a few weeks ago, and said you should go have a hearing test because it's going to come up on one of our future chats, and it would be really helpful if you knew what the heck you were talking about.
Well, it is a weird science.
Well, you know, I figured, well, you got me there. Because I've never had one before, so okay, off I went. Now, I went to the Mainland Hearing office over on Kingsway, right near Metrotown.
There you go.
And I met with your colleague, a very nice man named Dr. Herman Lee, who extremely professional, very patient, very calm, very nice guy.
Yeah, good.
And of course, the test took about 30 to about 3/4 of an hour.
About that.
And that was partly, I think, because I talked a lot. If I had just shut up, I'm sure Dr. Lee would have been through with me in a half an hour.
You have the same disease I do.
Yeah, but so I gassed on a little bit, but he was quite patient with me. But it was when I got my result. He was sitting there marking a chart as he was conducting this whole series of tests. And you'll go through the ins and outs of the testing process. But he was making marks on a chart as we were going along. And so afterwards, you get to sit down and across the desk from your tester and go, well, it's a test. So here we are. You know, we're all products of the North American education system. Whenever we have a test, we need to know our mark.
Did you pass?
Did we pass or did I fail? Oh, he failed. Well, no, actually, I don't think I did. And it's not a test, friends, that you do pass or fail.
No.
What if you go into a hearing test with hearing issues? There's no failing. You know you have hearing issues. You just want to know what kind of hearing issues.
And how much.
And and what remedies can be applied.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you don't have particularly awful hearing, then you'll go through a hearing test, and I guess you could call that a pass.
There you go.
But there's no right or wrong answer. There's no pass or a fail.
You could call it a hearing evaluation or a hearing assessment. You're just trying to figure out the ins and outs of your own hearing.
Right. And the reason that you and Mark and other professionals in the hearing business, Dr. Ted, advise all of us to take an annual hearing test is simply to establish the benchmark. Now, I now have a hearing test benchmark.
That's right.
From last month, Dr. Lee's got it on file in Metrotown. So next year, in the spring, I'm going to get another hearing test, and then I'll be able to see, in the last 12 months,
has anything changed?
That's right, exactly.
And that's the idea.
And the cost for that assessment, both last month and a year from now, will still be the same. It will still be
nada.
Zero. And I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah, I know. It's what the public often doesn't understand. I mean, there's just absolutely nothing to lose by just going for it and find out for yourself. Information is power. I mean, look, you might have some trouble hearing. You think you have a hearing loss, and an audiologist will test you, and maybe you don't.
Right.
You know, but it's like being stuck in traffic, and when you look over, oh, it's a truck tipped over. Oh, now I know what the cause is.
Right.
Oh, now you got the information.
Right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. You're still stuck in traffic, but you're not as anxious about it. You've got information.
Right. And that's the point. And the fact that the information is made available to you free of charge. Yeah. Okay, if that's the case, and if now we've completely identified it is a free and valuable service. If this is the case, Dr. Ted, why don't more of us pay more attention on an annual basis to our hearing in the same fashion we do to our vision?
We believe in what we see.
We can't. I suppose that's just true.
We don't have. We can't.
As
see
the old saying
loss.
goes, "The plain as the nose on your face."
Exactly.
That I can see.
Yeah. People, you can't see hearing loss. You can see blindness because you see the white cane.
Yes.
Right away, the arm comes out. Can I help you?
Right.
Hearing loss is different. The bananas are $1.49. What's that? I said the bananas are $1.49.
Right.
And people don't have the tether of patience when it comes to hearing loss.
Right. They just tend to yell.
Yep.
And older people, and I'm afraid I'm kind of entering the ground level of that group. And I find, and I watch this happening to older people. My mom's 92 in a few weeks. And people who are in their 80s or 90s, particularly when being treated or addressed by a younger person, I think the assumption is they're all deaf, so you have to yell at them.
And it's really...
And my mother just goes absolutely ballistic.
Exactly.
And I'll get a little tug on my sleeve. Will you tell that person to stop yelling at me?
Exactly. Yep.
And I have to kind of be nice about it because if I don't, she won't be nice.
I know.
But the assumption is, Ted, that older people are all just deaf as a post, and you have to yell at them, and that's just not true.
No, what the trick is, most people have treble hearing loss, not bass.
Oh, okay.
When you yell, you're raising up the bass. What people who are elderly cannot hear is the high-pitched sounds like S, F, TH, S, Ch, K. And those are the sounds, so they lack the clarity. Not the loudness, it's the clarity.
Right.
It's the trouble with treble, because treble sounds give you the clarity of speech. Now,
and it's the ability to distinguish the fine points between those sounds.
And so if you just look, young people, this is a lesson to you. When you're speaking to your elders, let the person see your face and slow down a bit. Don't yell, just slow your speech down a little bit and let the person use his eyes, in other words, his hearing aids,
to
help you to help distinguish what you're saying.
Right.
You just face the person, get his attention, let the person see you, and slow down.
Well, you've traveled more than I have, but we've both done a lot of global travel. And when you're in a foreign country and you don't speak the language, and yet you want a meal, and the nice-looking serving person comes to your table, you look them in the eye, you absolutely engage them, you use body language or whatever gestures you find helpful, and by gosh, you're going to get a sandwich if it kills you. And you work it out. You get it done, and you don't yell once.
No, and you don't repeat. Rephrase. That's another thing people make a mistake at. Just rephrase it. Say it a little differently, but let the person see you, for heaven's sakes. It's just called having a heart.
That's right. On this episode of Boomer Life, it's just a real pleasure to have audiologist Dr. Ted Venema from Mainland Hearing and NextGen Hearing back in studio with us. We're talking, of course, about the hearing test, among other things, on today's show. Having just taken one, I'll share my marks with you. We don't have passes or failures, but I did get marks, and I'll share them with you after we return from this.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on AM 650.